Welcome to the Rainbow Gateway Oracle. Cancer, thanks for coming here to your reading. This is a reading for Cancer placements, so Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, Mars, and other fourth house matters perhaps. And I wanted to thank you for coming to the reading. If you've never been to tarot before, welcome. And if you're returning, yay. This is not a reading that's going to fit for everyone. It's general. So just take what resonates and leave the rest behind. And also understand that I'm a psychic channeler. I'm beyond intuitive. And intuition is what we all have. And not everybody develops their intuitive muscles in life, but when you're someone who does develop your intuition in life, kind of like building your muscles at the gym, and you become psychic when you open up all of your energy centers, which may be known as chakras or dantians, depending on whether you're looking at Chinese medicine or Ayurveda, and there are other, names and stuff. Now, we got the Ace of Pentacles coming out. I just want to say a little bit more. There are readings for sale in the description box. Click the link tree. You can email me and then discuss, the questions you have for the universe, and we can get your reading going. Now, I am a legitimate person. I live in Metro Detroit. And, my name is Anne Marie. I don't always say that to everybody, but the Cancerians here today are wanting to know a little bit about me. I have studied Chinese medicine and acupuncture. The Hermit's wanting to pop out here, but not all those cards. And I have a master's degree in science and oriental medicine. I've studied behavioral psychology extensively. I understand relationship dynamics. I also understand early childhood abuse dynamics, trauma, and the other things related to, early childhood upbringings and, all that juicy emotional health stuff. And I'm also a mindset coach type of a person, and I'm here to help you. So I'm here to bring the messages. Again, this is a general reading, so maybe parts of the reading will fit for you and parts won't. But just take what feels like it's yours, and if the reading doesn't fit for you, there will be another one that comes later. And you can always get a private reading, and that would be tailored personally to you. But a lot of people come to tarot for various reasons. I'm using the Rider-Waite deck, which is one of the, original traditional decks. But I do also have a slew of oracle decks and stuff like that. But the universe is asking me to go OG right now. Tarot very specifically, the cards have their own, symbolism and meaning for years and years. But, they also have different messages than are written down traditionally because, they're tools really, not necessarily to be exact. So when you learn tarot, you can see that the Ace of Pentacles, it's Earth, it's the first card. You understand the symbolism in the card and what it means and all that stuff. But, you can also, the cards speak to each other. So, when you learn about each individual card and stuff like that, eventually you have to synergize it because it all comes together. The cards talk to each other, then the psychic messages come through. So it's not always very specifically, like if you have a book for tarot and you look up Ace of Pentacles and it gives you a little description, it can have many different meanings, especially depending on which cards it's depicted with. So you have to understand that it's an entire language, and it also includes the language of astrology within tarot. So this is just a little bit for those of you who don't know tarot, and for those who've been watching tarot for years. We're going to get into the reading in a minute. And we want to know today what's going on with your person is what I'm hearing. So what's going on with your person in life? Is this, a good relationship you're in? Is it one you're not in at all, but you're exploring it? Getting into it? What's going on in your love life? What's going on with the rest of your life? But a lot of people come to tarot for their romance things. But, tarot can help you with your life direction. It can help you understand your own energy. So you can come into a place of more self-acceptance and feel more confident and happy in life, A lot of people have repressed emotions. They have emotional problems. They don't know how to resolve it, But a lot of the time it's because they don't have, any knowledge that they need for their own understanding of their own life direction, their own energy and stuff like that. Tarot can help you develop your intuition, and it can also help you understand yourself better when you really get into it. But that's for another time. So we have the 2 of Cups at the bottom, and I'm getting the message here to split the deck, and we have the 8 of Pentacles. So here we have the universe is coming in here with this Ace of Pentacles and this 10 of Cups. And they're wanting you to know that you're tired of what's being given to you that appears to be good, that appears to be fulfilling for you, and it's just not. It's never fulfilling to you. It's like the universe is giving you something and it's never anything that fulfills you. Why doesn't it fulfill you? You can't figure that out. But the thing is you're not doing any self-inquiry. You need to be doing self-inquiry in order to understand why you're so dissatisfied with everything the universe is bringing you in terms of romance, or even in terms of just anything, really. It's just dissatisfying. Life seems very dissatisfying for, whoever's resonating here with this reading. Now, the universe wants to bring you the things that you love and that make you feel good and in harmony, but you're not in harmony in your own head. You're not in harmony in your own heart. And that's because you have a lot of energy that's repressed. It's not at all healthy. And, that's the thing, is because there's no self-inquiry, there's no interest even in seeing those things about your own self. So, there's a lot of subconscious things that really hold you back because you don't at all have any desire to even read those kind of books or watch those kind of videos. And you're coming to tarot because, you're wanting to know about this person that, is coming up for you. But you're not going to be happy with them either, is what I'm getting here. So it's not because you're undesirable. It's not because, you're fugly or anything like that. You're a gorgeous human being, in one way or another. And it doesn't always have to be a physical appearance, Our inner child self and the way we love ourselves and the way we love others, is what really makes us the most beautiful, And it's important that you take care of you, but you're not willing to take care of you, but you want to kind of caretake other people in relationships is what I'm seeing here. But that's not always welcome to the partner. And, partners would love to be caretaken sometimes, but maybe not as much as you would want to. And you have to see what are your underlying motivations to caretake someone who's not really willing to receive that caretaking. And then you're not happy because they don't want to receive what you're giving them. And that's because there's no boundaries. There's a boundaries issue. And there's also a misunderstanding of, what they need versus what you need. So I'm getting here that you try to caretake people sometimes and give them what you need. And then you don't give them what they need. And then when they ask you for what they need, you tell them they don't need that. They need what you're giving them. And that's not true. We all have very individual needs. Now, sure, we all need to have food, water, shelter, sex, friends, purpose, etc., etc. But it's very different. Not everybody needs a banana every day because it would not actually be healthy for their constitution. It would be too damp for some people, for example. They might only want to eat a banana once a month. And it's not about potassium. because you can get potassium from other foods and stuff like that. And that's just a random example that I give a lot. You know, you have to have the right foods for your own constitution, which comes from your genetics. It comes from your personal preferences. It comes from not only what's healthy for you scientifically, physically, but what's healthy for you in your heart center, you know? And a lot of times people have a perspective of health that's false. You know, people think, oh, if I'm healthy, I can't do anything fun. I can't have any cake. I can't do anything. And they get blah, blah, blah. And they have this fucking bad attitude about it. And what they have is a false idea of health. You know, moderation is a really good thing to remind yourself of, because you can treat yourself and you can enjoy yourself. You know, what you want to do more is incorporate what's healthier for you in life, which is what feeds your heart and soul. You know, don't deprive yourself of the things that bring your inner child self happiness. But that's what you do. You deprive yourself and then you try to give other people what you need. You should give what you need to you and find out what they need to them. And then maybe you would have a little bit better time in your connections here. And, you know, what I'm getting is, you know, you need to do the work internally, emotionally and mentally, in order to improve your relationship dynamics. Otherwise, you're never going to shift out of, you know, these bad feelings and this negative energy that's constantly surrounding you all the time. And I know you're tired of it, but you have to do the work on your own. And it can be overwhelming and stuff like that. It can feel vulnerable. And you know, sometimes people have real intimacy fears and they can't help that because of trauma. But there's something you can do for yourself. It's so easy, so easy. Start meditating. All right. Now, the mind can have all sorts of blocks to meditation, because the more you meditate, the less your ego has control of your life. And the more you don't pander to fear inside. But first you have to, one, become aware of your thoughts. You have to review your thought forms. You know, what are they saying? And then you also have to recognize that you are not the thoughts in your own head. You're what is aware of thoughts. So I'm also getting here, there's a little bit of a mistaken identity, and you might need to go through a bit of an identity crisis in order to sort of peel away the things that are not authentic to you, but were forced upon you in your youth by not necessarily parents, but society, others, could be parents in some cases, and just not everybody's having parent issues. It's a general read, but it's understandable that it's daunting to do meditation work, but really start out with 30 seconds 3 times a day, and then make your way to 60 seconds 3 times a day. And just start there, okay? Do the 30 seconds for a week and then up it to 60 seconds 3 times a day, every day. Don't ever stop. And, you know, maybe do it right before you eat, right after you eat, whatever is going to help remind you to do it those 3 times a day. It could be when you're in the bathroom, on the toilet even, or in the shower. You know, you can meditate anywhere, on the bus, on the car, you know. You can be driving and meditate. You just have to become aware of your own thoughts and watch them. Now, there's guided meditations out there. There's all sorts of YouTube videos, and there's an Insight Timer app that's really good for meditation stuff. You can check that out. I'm not affiliated in any way, but, you know, I just like using that. And also there's a ton of other ones. Calm, I think, is one. And the meditation is really important for you, because that's going to help you become aware of your thoughts. When you understand that your thoughts in your head aren't always the truth. a lot of times we're getting feelings and we don't know why we have our feelings. Well, the feelings can help you understand that your thought forms are fearful, negative, and also untrue. So your feelings can be a gauge at times to help you see the fallacies in your own mind and in your own subconscious and stuff like that. And, you have to explore a little bit of spirituality and understanding the absolute truth. You can explore non-duality. I recommend Mooji. Mooji, Moojie, is a spiritual teacher. He is a Jamaican man living in Portugal. He has, like a whole center that people go to, ashram, I think they call that one over there. And he's a really great speaker. He's a really good human being, and he can help you with your mind things and helps you understand the difference between your own awareness and the ego mind. So we have a finite mind and an infinite mind. Your infinite mind is connected with your intuition. Your finite mind is connected with the ego. And the ego is something that all human beings have, but some human beings have learned to identify with their ego instead of identifying with their authentic awareness and self. And when people are identified with ego, they're every time 100% raised in an emotionally abusive environment. And it is ordinarily the problems coming from mom and dad when it comes to that. Now, there's differences here in emotional abuse because you have individuals who are coming across emotionally abusive, but they're not malicious in their intent. And these are people who are raised in an emotionally abusive environment and think that's kind of normal about what they do with feelings. They don't have ill intent, but they're still invalidating or minimizing in some kind of way, or manipulative or guilting or something like that. Maybe they don't realize it. And these are the people who can check themselves and make adjustments when someone else gives them a boundary and says, hey, you're being invalidating to me. And, maybe they don't even know what emotional invalidation is. They have to learn about it. So you have to understand there's people who are emotionally ignorant who are engaged in abuse dynamics and may not really be fully aware of it because they're self-abusive in their own heads. And then now you have emotionally abusive people who are extremely, extremely calculated, deliberate, and so you have to understand who you're dealing with in your life when you have those kinds of things. Are they merely ignorant, or are they a psychological predator like a sociopath or a narcissist? And those types are demonic inside, and they are never, ever, 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 ever going to love you, and you want to leave them and never call again. And that's what I would say for this reading here. Now, your soul, your inner child, is looking to transform into a better version of itself, and that comes from that self-inquiry work. Now, I'm also recommending a book here. It's a really easy read. It's big print. Not that you can't handle small print. It's a short, easy read, and it's called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And he's a Toltec wisdom guy from the Yucatan, and him and his family write really amazing books. I recommend reading everything that they have, but start with the 4 Agreements and don't get overwhelmed with all the reading. Just find the books when they come to you in life, because you'll see them pop up on your Amazon or wherever, and you go, maybe I should get that one this time in the future. You'll see how the 4 Agreements changes your whole entire perspective on life for the better, okay? Now, get those things going for yourself and then reassess what kind of a relationship you would like that would be satisfying for the long haul, okay? What do you need in a partner? Ask the universe to help bring you a partner that meets your needs and that you meet them automatically. And that's when the universe brings you the right fit, because they're going to love the way you love them. But you still need to make your own adjustments, developing healthy boundaries, becoming a master of your own mind, or at least getting a better handle on it. This is a process and this is a life's work. So just take one step every day with the meditation and just learn about the other stuff as you go. You'll get there, and you'll evolve and transform into someone that's happy for once. And you're someone, I'm getting that, aren't always feeling like you could ever be happy in life with your, but you need to work on developing a better, healthier relationship with yourself. Because when you don't, you end up heartbroken all the time. And you're always getting those like big stings from, being, dumped in relationships or having to dump the other one. And it's just your inner child is really needing some love and care. And then you can get this better offer from others. And because you'll be able to see the things that are sort of sabotaging the relationship early on, that you can have communication with your partner about and then come to an agreement. Because when you notice things in a relationship and you ignore them, you end up stuck with a partner that's not right for you. And then you just waste your time, and then you create a lot of karmic, energy for yourself. And then you have to go back through oftentimes like a whole other cycle, just to, transform that. And, you don't want to create negative karma for yourself in this lifetime. You want to move away from that. The more you listen to your intuition every time, the less karma you're going to make for yourself. The thing is when we follow fear, then that creates a negative karma for ourselves, because we have to see that fear holds us back and gets in the way. So let's say that your intuition is really wanting you to go to the park today. But all of a sudden, you're afraid that if you go to the park, you're not going to be able to get your laundry done and cook the dinner that you had planned. But your intuition really is calling you to the park, and you like to go to the park for whatever reason. It's where you want to go, but your head tells you, oh, you can't go. You have to do this and this and this. And you're afraid of what would happen if you don't have clean clothes for work tomorrow or whatever. And so you skip the park. Well, right there, that's a self-sabotage. But see, your mind thinks it has to go a certain way, and then you can't get out of that sometimes. Your mind is telling you it has to go a certain way when it actually doesn't. You have to give yourself permission to live freely, and understanding what your mind is telling you is so important, because it's driving your behaviors that are self-sabotaging and bringing you the worst relationships in the world. And it's because you have the worst relationship in the world with yourself. And maybe it's not that bad. I don't want to, I don't want to make anyone feel worse here at all in any way, shape, or form. This is meant to help you launch into a better place. You're not doing anything wrong. It's just that we're born without really choosing. We don't get to pick our families, where we come from. We don't dictate how society is. And, if you understand history and evolution and, where everything's been going over hundreds of years and thousands of years, you can really see that humanity's evolution is upon us all the time. And, you want to live abundantly. You want to live generously. You want to, see those happy days. You want to get that higher knowledge and wisdom so that you can have a better life. You can't get that higher knowledge and wisdom if you never crack the book, if you never do any self-inquiry and you just deny it or gloss it over and stuff. And I understand it's really uncomfortable. It's, it can feel lonely, and you don't always feel you have the right support, or people might not understand what you're going through. There are a gajillion people who are going through what you're going through right now, just hearing this message even. And you're not alone in it, but I know it feels that way. And just to remind yourself that you're not flawed, okay? You don't need to fix yourself. You need to find yourself. And that's what it is. You're not broken, though you might feel broken. Our feelings can tell us that we feel broken. Our feelings can tell us that we're all alone. And it feels that way, and it's okay to feel that way. But then we want to take a look at what's actually the truth. And there's always support out there, even if it's just the universe sending you a sign or a synchronicity, or sending an animal messenger. Sometimes the bird will come out of nowhere and give you or a cat will come along so you can pet it, even if you can't find another human. But I'm getting you have a lot of support in your life and friends and stuff like that, but it can feel lonely. And all of your friends are probably going through similar stuff when they're in their feelings, feeling like they're alone too. But we have to process our feelings alone a lot of the times because of the way society has been structured. And emotional abuse is extremely common. It's too common. And it has become almost normalized to be emotionally abusive in certain areas, especially in a place like Metro Detroit. You have the big three, you have auto workers, you have blue collar mentality, which essentially is a slave mindset because it's coming from scarcity. You believe that you're not enough, you'll never have enough. And, that's just a false idea, but people are made to believe it because of the domestication and the early childhood conditioning and just the way you've been raised and who you've been raised around. But sometimes people never leave their hometown, so you stay with the same mentality of the people you grew up around, and you don't expand that knowledge. And if you're not exposed to it from them, and they're just not hearing of it either. That's why we have books. That's why we have internet. That's why we have traveling and stuff like that. And, temperance in the tarot is representing Sagittarius, Maybe you need to take a trip here. You would love to get a hotel room, go on a trip, and, do some self-exploration. Have a good time, Bring that book with you on the plane. It'll give you something to do. I'm really recommending that, but I see that in your future though already, that, you're having a trip and, you're perhaps wondering if you're going to meet someone on the trip, but you don't want to meet someone on the trip that is going to be a long distance relationship, though it's not terrible to have a fling, but just make sure that you're feeling 100% on board with it and not coerced or too drunk to remember what happened. And don't hurt yourself like that. And that's another message here, not for everybody, but someone's drinking a little too much. We're not judging you here at the Rainbow Gateway Oracle, but the reason you're drinking too much is because you don't know how to alleviate the repressed emotion, the toxic shame. You don't have anything to be ashamed of, but someone made you ashamed, someone made you guilty. So you have to resolve that. You have to really work with your inner child self. You have to learn how to kind of reparent yourself in your own head, which involves a lot, you know. But again, 4 agreements, meditation, take a trip, and just also find some Muji, okay? And that's where I'm going to hop off here. Don't forget to check out the description box and buy a reading. Thank you so much for your time, and goodbye.